All right, so we are back on page 167 doing the fundamentals. Page 167, number 6. It says here, Gibbs free energy G is a thermodynamic quantity that is equal to the enthalpy of a system minus the product of the entropy and the absolute temperature. Very confusing, right? But you don't need to worry. It says the equation G equals U plus PV minus TS illustrates how internal energy U, P, pressure, volume V, and temperature T, and entropy S are all used to determine Gibbs free energy. Which of the following expressions best describes how to find the absolute temperature T? That's what they want us to find. They want us to find what is T. So what do? We just need to treat this like a regular Algebra 1 question, and we're going to isolate the T as best as we can. Okay, let's start off by individually moving each one of these, because this is considered a number and this is considered a number. Okay, so let's take out the U first. We're going to take out the U, and when you do that, you're going to minus the U on both parts. It's going to be G minus U equals positive PV minus TS. Let's minus out the PV over here. We're going to minus the PV out on both sides, and it's going to cross out the PV on one side, and it's going to be G minus U minus PV on the other side equals negative TS. We want to, I'm going to do everything one by one so I don't make a mistake. I'm going to take out this negative, and I'm going to divide by -1 then, because it's like there's an invisible -1 right here. Okay, so I'm going to take the negative away from the TS by dividing it out. So when I divide out that negative, I'm going to have to divide by a negative. And when I divide by a negative, basically the 1 is here, but the negative comes out here to the left. And then I have to distribute it to each member of this equation family. Okay, so that's going to make it negative times G is negative G, negative times negative U is positive U, negative times negative is positive P over 1 equals, and this negative on the other side will leave itself or cancel each other out. It's going to remain with the TS. After this, in order to get T, all we do is divide out the S on both sides. That's going to cancel out the S, leaving T alone. Therefore, T is going to equal negative G plus U plus PV over S. And if you look at your answer choices, they may not be in this exact order, but as long as it is correct, if you look at answer D, it says T equals positive U plus positive PV minus G over S. That's the exact same thing. The negative G is right here and right here. Positive U, positive PV over S. So D is the answer. Are there any questions in this class? You guys good? Okay, so let's go back to this negative distributing because a student has a question. So I'm going to do it one by one because remember, I'm not a math teacher, so we're going to do it carefully, okay? And I'm going to rewrite it over here. G minus U minus PV equals negative TS. If I'm going to divide out the negative sign right here, I'm going to just put it like a -1 there. You understand that portion, right? And then because there's like a negative, there's an invisible 1 right here. So we're going to divide out the -1. So when I divide by -1, this negative doesn't just isolate its negativity right here on the bottom. This negative, you could pull it out over here and cross this one out. It affects the entire fraction. Therefore, you have to take this and multiply it and distribute it to each member, creating negative times G is negative G. Negative times negative is positive U. Negative times negative is positive PV. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to move on then to our next question, which is going to be on page 168. So So page 168, this is number 8. Okay, so one thing that you guys have to know about inequalities, working with inequalities, is if you multiply or divide by a negative number, what do you do to the inequality signs? You have to flip them, okay? So let me say that one more time. If you multiply or divide by a negative number, you got to flip your inequality signs. So here it says 13 is less than or equal to. By the way, a lot of you guys last time were confused what the sign is. Maybe some of you guys had really bad math teachers in the past. This means less than, okay? Because this big mouth right here, on this side, because it's the big mouth, it's going to be a bigger number. Just remember it like that. So 13, you got 31 minus 2x is less than or equal to 39. Which of the following represents all possible values of x? So we need to basically find out what is x. So what should we do in the situation? We have to isolate the x. So what do we do to the 31? You're going to subtract out the 31. Whatever you do inside, you have to do it to the outside. So minus 31 minus 31. Okay, that's going to cross out this 31, leaving a negative 2x in the middle right here. And 39 minus 31 is 8. And 13 minus 31 is negative 18. Now we need to continue to isolate the x. And what we're going to do is divide then out the negative 2. Right here, all of you guys should, first thing, flip the sign right now before you forget. Flip the sign, okay? Because anytime you divide or multiply by a negative number, you're going to have to flip the sign. So do it now. Carry down the x right here. Okay, so that's going to be x is in the middle. And we're going to divide now these all by negative 2. Divide by negative 2. A negative divided by a negative is going to be a positive 9 for 18 over 2. And then 18 divided by negative 2 is going to be a negative 4. So which of these answer choices matches this right here that you see? The answer will be B. Negative 4 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 9. And you might say, but that's not fair. It's different. It's posed differently. No, it isn't. The x is still in the middle, and this big sign right here is facing one side. The big side is facing the x, and then the smaller part is facing the negative 4. You have to be meticulous and make sure that it's reading the same way. As long as it is, you will get it correct. Are there any questions on page 168? Okay, so I'm going to continue on page 168, but I'm going to do number 23. Okay, it says, which of the following accurately defines all possible values of p minus q? In the end, they want us to find p minus q. If 15 is less than or equal to p, which is less than or equal to 0. P could be, so look at this, p could be 15, but it could be 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, all the way up to 30. Do you guys all get that? P could be any of those. It could be as high as 30, but it could be as low as 15. And then it gives you another equation. It says 7 is less than or equal to q, which is less than or equal to 19. So q could be as small as 7, but it could be as big as 19. Now they want to know, what is p minus q? Well, p could be as small as 15, but it could be as big as 30. So what you want to do, what they're basically asking you in this question is, what is the range of answers that p minus q could be? And to find the range, you would want to find the highest p and subtract it with the lowest q. Do you guys get that? Because that will be a p minus q, but p being the highest, and then also going with the lowest q. So we're going to do all 4 combinations that we can try, okay? Because if p could be as high as 30, I'm going to put p minus q like this, okay? P could be as high as 30, and it could be as low as 15. And we're going to subtract that from q. Q could be as high as 19, but it could be as low as 7. But look, you might think, but Miss Jennings, we could also swap each one, like the 15 could go with the 19. You are correct. So I'm going to do it again. 30, P could be as high as 30, but P could also be as low as 15. And now we're going to swap, because what if the 19 could go with the 15, right? So I'm going to put the 19 with the 15 this time. And then the 7, because the Q could be as low as 7, I'm going to put that with the 30. And I'm going to find my range of numbers, basically the highest and the lowest. So 30 minus 19 is 11. 15 minus 7 is 8. 30 minus 7 is 23. 15 minus 19 is -4. What are my highest and lowest numbers? It's going to be 23 and -4. Therefore, P could be all the way from 23 down to, the numbers P minus Q could be anywhere between -4 all the way to, right here, -4 and as big as 23. Okay, so that's going to be a combo, just a combo question, and realistically, this is considered a higher level question. Okay, I remember this question from the old SAT, and it is considered a question that if you didn't know how to do, you could do letter of the day. Okay, next one. We are moving on to page 169. And we're moving on to quadratics. So this is number 11. What is the sum of the distinct possible values of x for the equation x squared plus 3x minus 10 equals 0? And the answer choices they give you are going to be -3, -2, 3, and 5. Now, some of you guys might go, oh, I know how to do this. I plug in the answer. You don't plug in the answer for this one, because look at what it says specifically. They want to know what is the sum. So what does the sum mean? You are adding, okay, of the distinct possible values of x. So there are more than one value. There's more than one value of x. So this is not, it's not going to work out if you just plug in one. There's two. So what would you do in this situation right here? You would have to factor it, okay, which you guys all remember how to do. So if there is x right here, x squared, you know x is going to go here. What times what would equal to -10, but if you subtracted or added it, would be 3. It would be 5 and 2, right? So because this is a positive 3, you know the positive is going to go here, and this side is going to be a negative. Okay? Now, if you guys know your math decently, you'll know that when you pull it out of these equations, it'll be x equals -5 and x equals +2. But if you don't know why, it's because you go x plus 5 and you equal that to 0, and then x minus 2 and you equal that to 0, and then you go +2, +2, x equals 2. This one you go -5, x equals -5. Or you could just memorize that when you take it out, it flips the sign. So these are our two sums for x. It's going to be -5 and 2. Okay, so they want us to add these together because they said the sum. So -5 plus 2 equals -3, and our answer is found right here in A. Okay, page number 169. We are doing number 8. This one is rational equations. Okay, so you have this 2m over 5 equals m plus 3 over 12. Immediately when I see this question, I know exactly what to do. Because there are two fractions right here, and in between them is an equal sign, is always the sign for you to cross multiply. Okay, so we're going to cross multiply those. We're going to cross multiply those. So 2m is going to get multiplied to the 12 equals 5 times the quantity m plus 3. Okay, so this, if you multiply 2m times 12, that's going to be 24m equals 5. We're going to distribute it to the m plus 3. 5 times m is 5m plus 5 times 3 is 15. We're going to bring the 5m over to the 24m side to isolate it. So negative 5m on both sides. The 5m crosses out. 24 minus 5m equals 19m. It's going to equal 15. And if you want to know what is m alone, you're going to take out the 19, divide out the 19 on both sides. It's going to leave m all by itself, and you're going to get 15 over 19, which is your answer C. Super duper easy. But again, that's only if you could recognize what to do in this situation. Let me repeat one more time. When you see a fraction and in between it is an equal sign, that is a dead ringer to cross multiply. When these are multiplied together, that's when you could cross cancel, like the 2 and the 12 could cancel out. That's if it's a multiplication sign. But in this case, you see an equal sign. An equal sign means cross multiply. All right, we are moving on to page 170. On page 170, number 18. Okay, there is this fraction 3 over 2x minus 1 over 4 equals 2. All right, so I'm going to teach you guys a method, and it's called the bow tie method. Some of you guys may know how to do this, and some of you guys may already know how to do this in another way that your elementary school teacher taught you how to deal with this, okay? But this is the bow tie method. You multiply this number first, okay? So that's going to be 12. 3 times 4 is 12. And you're going to keep the sign right here, which is the minus sign. And then you're going to multiply this, making a little bow tie. 2x times 1 is 2x. And again, you keep that negative sign there. And then you put the little slash mark for the fraction. And then you multiply the bottom two numbers right here. 2x times 4, which equals 8x. And that's going to carry you to that equaling 2. But remember, there's always a negative or an invisible 1 underneath the 2. Now that brings us to a very easy place, because the last question I already established, if you have a fraction on this side and a fraction on this side, what can you do to this if there's an equal sign in the middle? Cross multiply. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so this is your little wrestling move. If you're in a headlock and you know I could just do this one jujitsu move to get out of here, this is your move, cross multiplication. Okay, so we're going to cross multiply 18x times 2, which is 16x, and that's going to equal, and this is all times 1, so it's just going to equal itself, 12 minus 2x. Let's isolate the x's. So we're going to go plus 2x on each side, canceling it out on the right side. And 16x plus 2x is going to equal 18x equals 12. You want to cross out the 18 or divide out the 18 so we could isolate the x. That's going to cross out. You cross it out on this side as well. So x is going to equal 12 over 18, and we can further simplify that by taking out a 6 from each one. If you divide out a 6 from the 12, it'll be a 2. Divide out a 6 from the 18, it's going to be a 3. And this is your answer. And because it is a grid in, you will grid it in like this. 2 over 3. Fill in the 2, fill in the slash sign, fill in the 3. Okay, we are almost finished. Actually, I am going to finish it right there.